This is the second video about formatting cells. In the first video, we saw some elementary basics, and I showed you how to use the Format Cells window. In this video, we will talk about conditional formatting. I have prepared this worksheet for this purpose. Let's say you have a questionnaire with 10 questions, and I have the questions here, question 1 till question 10, are questions where the respondent can give a score from 0 till 10, where 0 is very bad and 10 is very good. And what you did is you calculated the average score for each question. I really didn't calculate something because I don't have a questionnaire with 10 questions with a liked score like this. So I did it in another way. I just took a random number between 2 and 9. So there will be no score of 0 or 1 or 10. And I do this with the function ranBetween. Now, ranBetween is a function. I use this function special for this purpose for conditional formatting because every time I change something on the worksheet, like I type something in or I delete something, you see the numbers are changing. And in this way, you really can have a good view about the working of conditional formatting. Conditional formatting formats cells when a certain condition is met. If the condition is not met, the cells will not be formatted. Now, how does this work? First, select the cells to which you want to apply conditional formatting. Then go to the option Conditional Formatting, click on it, and you will see a menu appearing with a lot of options in it. Most of these options do speak for themselves. For example, if I want to highlight, if I want to color the scores greater than 5, I go to Highlight Cell Rules, and then I select the option Greater Than. Here I have the option to fill in a number, let's say 5. I want to color all scorers greater than 5. And here I have a menu where Excel proposes some basic formatting, or you can go to Custom Format, and then you will have the same window we already talked about. Here you can do whatever you want. Let's say I want to fill them in light green, and this way all the scores greater than 5. I select OK, I select OK, and now all the scores greater than 5 are highlighted with the background green color. And if I change something in my worksheet, then the ranBetween function will pick up other numbers, and you see that the conditional formatting does its job, namely it colors the cells which met the condition greater than 5. It is important to know that conditional formatting makes formatting rules, and you can view these rules in the option here, Manage Rules. If you click on it, you get a window with all the rules at this moment applied for the current selection. Now there is no rule that I have for this cell, so you don't see anything. Of course, you can here, for example, for this worksheet, see all the rules, or let me close this and select one of the cells where I know a rule is applied on, and I go to Manage Rules, and here you see also the rule for now the current selection, and there is indeed this rule. Here you see the condition, here you see the formatting, and here you see the range of cells where the rule is applied on. To delete the rule, select the rule and click on Delete, and the rule is gone. There is no more formatting. Okay, let me redo this. Highlight rules greater than. I select 5. We did custom formatting. We chose a light green background like this, and let me go to Manage Rules. If I have more rules, then I will see more rules depending on what you choose here. Are there more rules in the same selection of same range of cells, very possible. Or if there are other roles in some other range in this worksheet, then you will see them showing up the moment you choose, for example, this worksheet. Of course, you can use a cell reference instead of typing the digit 5, the number 5. For example, I will use now the content of cell E1 where I put in my number 5, and let me select first, delete this rule and make the rule again greater than, and then instead of typing 5, I can just click on the cell E1. And notice the equal sign and also the dollar signs. They are important. I will explain it later why they are important. Here we had a format, custom format, light green background, like this. Okay, and now this rule listens to the content of the condition listens to the content of E1. So if I put in the number 7, then all cells with more than 7 are colored green. You can double click on a rule here, edit the rule, and then you have all the possible options to determine a rule. I'm not going to explain them all, it would take us too far, but remember that what you see here are just some simple formats, simple rules that Excel proposes. But if you want to have all the rules, you can go to a rule and that I just showed you and do an edit, or click here on more rules, then you have all the possible options. If I look to the other options, I think they speak for themselves. Less than, between, two numbers, equal to a number. You can even select text, the data type text, and if text contains certain characters, you can put them in here between dates and duplicated values. Very useful if you have, for example, a lot of numbers and you want to see if there are, or text, doesn't matter, if you want to see if there are duplicates in all those numbers or text, you can use a rule with duplicate values. Then the second option, top bottom rules, I think they also are very clear. You can select the top 10 rules of the cells you select. Of course, they have to be from the data type number, or the top 10%, the bottom top 10% above or below average. I think this is very clear. Something you're going to need for your template is the use of data bars. Let me first explain how data bars work. For this, I have here some numbers, and I also used the ranBetween function to pick a random number between 1 and 20. And I have this function copied in all these cells. So what does that give me if I now ask to format them with data bars? Well, you have to know that the size of a bar is determined by the ratio of the numbers to each other. So Excel determines the range of the series of numbers by subtracting the maximum from the minimum. Let me show you this. What is the minimum for this range? So I talk now about a range is don't be confused with the range of cells. I talk about the range of all the numbers here. So I subtract the maximum of the numbers minus the minimum of the numbers. So let me first get the minimum of all these numbers. I use the function min. I select all the cells here and I get the minimum. The maximum is a little bit the same. There's a function max, and you can give it this range of cells and it determines the maximum number. And then I subtract these two, and that's what we call the range. of these numbers. And if I divide this range by 100, then you have the amount of units per percentage filling. So let me do this. So you have now, yeah, you see the moment I change something in this worksheet, always the numbers are changing. Huh? So you have now for each dot 17 unit, you have 1% filling. So approximately you have per unit a 5% of filling. Let me show you it in another way. For example, here I hard code the number 1. So the minimum now is number 1. And in this cell, I hard code the number 100. And you see the range is 99. So approximately now you have 1% filling for each unit. So important to know is that the size of the bar is determined by the ratio of the numbers to each other. Okay, let's have a look at the formatting rule. So I go to Manage Rules, double click on the rule, and here you have some options. The first one here, show bar only. That means that you don't see the numbers itself, just the bars. That's something you're going to need, so remember here that you have to check this. And then here you have the minimum and maximum value to calculate the range, as I explained here. But yeah, Excel has a strange behavior here. I discovered that when you don't have any negative numbers and your range minimum is automatic, that Excel takes 0 as the minimum and not calculate the minimum of these numbers. It is 1 here, and if the minimum is 1, we shouldn't have any filling here. And you see there is some minor, you don't see it that good, but there is some filling here. That's because Excel takes 0 as the minimum when there are no negative numbers here. You can select lowest and you can select highest, but it automatically takes highest, I discovered. So if I do this and I click on OK and I apply this rule, then you see there is no filling for the number 1. Normally you don't need to change this. Just know what's going on and that's sufficient. So I put it back to automatically here. So now you understand the data bars, how they work. Well, it's exactly the same how, for example, these icon sets work. But instead of dividing your range here by 100 to get a percentage of filling, you divide your range by 3 if you have 3 icons. And then you have the lowest part where the lowest numbers belong to, they get the red arrow, and the middle part, they get the orange arrow, and the numbers belonging to the highest part, they get the green arrow. And if you have 4 icons, your range will be divided by 4. And then Excel will look to which part every number belongs to and gives the right icon. Also with color scales, it's exactly the same. Color scales, if you have 3 colors in your color scale, then your range is divided by 3. If you have 5 colors in your color scale, then the range is divided by 5, and each number belongs to a certain part and gets the color which belongs to that part. Okay, let's do a little exercise. Can you explain the following behavior? Let's say I have 3 numbers, 1, 2, 3. I select them like this. I go to my icon sets and I create a new formatting rule with 3 icons, and as expected, I've got for 1 the arrow down, the red arrow, for 2 the orange arrow, and for 3 the green arrow. Now I change the number 3 in the number 100, and 1 and 2 gets the red arrow. Can you explain why? Okay, let's now use data bars to visualize the count of respondents. We have for this question, you calculated in your template an average score. Here, for example, is the average score 3 for question 1, average score 6 for question 2. And here you have calculated the count of respondents who scored less than 5 for this question, and the count of respondents who scored 5 or more for this question. Yes. So for question 1, you have an average of 3. And what you want to know is how many respondents scored this question very low. Probably all of them, or maybe there are respondents who also scored this question positive, more than 5. So that's what you calculated here. You're going to use in your template the count function, and I will explain this function in another video. Here I just put in the numbers. So 15 respondents scored less than 5 for this question 1. 5 respondents scored 5 or more, and this leads to the average 3. So now what I want to do is to visualize this. Instead of just giving the numbers, I want to visualize this. First, you have to make up. I'm going to use conditional formatting. I'm going to compare the numbers, but which numbers do I want to compare? Do I want to compare these numbers and then create a formatting rule with the data bars? No, I don't want to. That's the same what I did here. And I compared all these numbers. And here is remember the minimum and the maximum, and the range is calculated with the minimum maximum, and then the percentage of filling we can calculate. But I want to compare these two figures and these two figures. So I have to make a formatting rule for question 1. I have to make a formatting rule for question 2. I have to make a formatting rule for question 3, and so on. So, okay, let's do this and start with question 1. Select the two numbers and create a data bar. Okay, so I have now created a formatting rule here. Let me show it. Here is a data bar. Here you have the two cells. But I'm not satisfied. Why not? Because, well, if you have two cells, then one of these two cells will be the maximum. The cell with the maximum number will be filled completely. Look at this 100. 100 was the maximum, so this cell is completely filled. And I don't want this. In fact, I want the 15 and the 5 compared with the total number of the total count of respondents who scored this question. For question 1, we have 20 respondents who scored this question. So I want this 15 compared with 20, and I want this 5 compared with 20. But you know now how data bars work. So here we have a range of 15. Remember, it's the minimum and the maximum, but if there are no negative numbers, it's the minimum. The minimum value is automatically set and is set to 0. Yeah, so we have here a range of 15. So it's not the correct range. I want this compared with 20 respondents. So how can I have here a range of 20? Well, make this 15 negative. So in your template, make your count a negative number for the scores less than 5. We are not there yet, but this is already better. This bar represents a comparison with the total number of respondents, and also this 5 is also a comparison with the total number of respondents with the total of 20 respondents. Okay, how can I make things look better? Well, let's go to the formatting rule itself. And first of all, I don't want the numbers in it. I don't want to show the minus 15. It will be very confusing for readers of your report that you have a count of respondents who scored question 1 less than 5 and the count is minus 15. Huh? So you check this one and you only have the bar only and you don't see the numbers. And I just want to have a visualization, an ID of the total number of respondents who scored less than 5 or 5 or more. Okay, the next thing you want to do is the bar direction. Now you have a negative bar starting on the left side to the right. Yes, you want to reverse that. And the bar direction you can choose right to left. So if I do this right to left and I go to OK and apply, then you see that the bars comes together here. The negative bar starts on the right side and the positive bar starts on the left side. And this is also better. Now you have a better view, you have a better comparison, visualization about how many scored less than 5 and how many scored 5 or more. And you see very clear that there are much more respondents scoring less than 5. Of course, you have also an average of 3. And to finish this, make it still better, this no gradients. I want to have solid fills. And I want the negative color, maybe also for colors. Don't use harsh colors for big surfaces and bars are rather big. You want to have a less harsh color. You don't want to have borders around the bars. And for the negative value, you don't want to have the harsh color here red, but choose instead, for example, some softer orange like this. And this is better, huh? Now you can see you have a good visualization. You see the scores less than 5, the count of the scores and the count of the respondents with 5 or more. And this you can repeat for every question. So let me show you this for question 2. Very identical. We start with making my formatting rule. I have to type -8. Of course, in your function, you will use the function count or function countif. And of course, there you want negative, so you use minus count or minus countif or something. Let's go to the formatting rule here. Double click on it. Show the bar only. No border. Right to left. Solid fill. And make it a softer color for the negative and make it a softer color for the positive, like this. So here you see it's almost even. Huh? You see a little bit more respondents had scored question 2 5 or more and than the respondents who scored the question less than 5. And so you go on for the other questions. Of course, you don't need to do this question by question. You can remember, you can copy and paste formatting, also formatting rules. So select, for example, the formatting rule of question 2, go to Format Painter and click on the next one, and you have the next one and the next one is immediately formatted. Go to the rule and you see everything, no border, solid fill, negative values, the correct color. You have here, the only thing you need to change is the -3. This is still positive, but now negative. So in fact, I have -9, -2, -5, -4, minus 19, minus 15, and minus 20. And now I can copy all these rules to each question, and I've got what I want. If you look at the data bars, then you should notice something odd is going on for a certain question. And if this was for real, then you should re-examine your count functions or re-examine your average function, or at least look again at that question, what's going on. Do you have any idea? So this is something you're going to need in your template, and I think with the information you have now, an understanding of the data bars, you can create something nice like this. Of course, like I said before, of course, you can do this with a traditional graph also, but it's a kind of a exercise also to know how to use these data bars